Mr. G, first of all, thank you for joining this call on such a short notice.
Thank you so much for inviting me, sir.
So it's my pleasure always. So, of lately, had a discussion with one of export associations, and they're based out of South India with presence. Their offices in all four southern states. So
Okay.
I happened to meet them in one of events in Bangalore recently, and one of the chairmen of the company shared me a list of questionnaires which I had shared with you.
Right.
Uh, so this call is basically a Q&A session to understand more about the export finance, export factoring, which eventually I'll be sharing with the association, and then eventually, uh, we can once again connect with them, and if they have further questions, we can take it. So, with your permission, can I start the question, sir?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, Nisarji, let's keep it very short and crisp. In case some of the questions you would like to pass, then we can always pass it. So, they have divided the question into certain points. So, the first question, what I would be asking for the benefits of all the exporters would be a general information.
Right.
So, it asks, how long have you been providing export factoring services?
See, export factoring or factoring as a whole started in India after the Factoring Act of 2012. That is
Okay.
when this product was approved. कि India mein we can do something like this. Export
Acha.
factoring as a product, I think it's a 5-year-old product in the Indian market. It has
Wonderful.
only picked up pace probably 1 year ago. So in Gift City, Gandhinagar, where we sit, the regulator, the
Okay.
Government of India statutory body called IFSCA, had asked fintechs to apply for licenses to start export factoring as a product. And three of the companies, including my company, got that license. So after that,
Wonderful.
I think there is a uptick in the momentum of these deals. To give you a small context, in India, total wholesale credit, only 0.3% of the total wholesale credit is through factoring, which is close to 3% in China and 7% in Europe. So we have miles to
Okay.
go, and this product is only going to grow further.
Okay, sir. Thanks. Thanks, Nisarji. So this next question would be, what would be the target export markets, and is there any industry specific?
So we don't do to coming to the second question, the industries, we don't do four industries. First one is gems and jewelry. Second is arms and ammunition. The third one is
Okay.
coal. And the fourth one is
Cool.
perishable products. Anything that has a shelf life of less than 6 months, probably, if kept in a cold
Okay.
storage. So
Okay.
perishables, gems and jewelry, arms and ammunition, and coal. These are the four products that we will not do. Apart from
We
that,
will not do.
everything we do. Yes,
And any
except for these
target
four things.
export market, sir?
Sir, see, this entire product is working on an insurance backed or a two-factor model backed. So ideally, any
Okay.
place where we can get a two-factor model or insurance, we will be able to do. So you are looking at the entire developed world. So entire Europe we can
Okay.
cover, North America we can cover. In Latin America, some of the better countries, Chile, Brazil, countries like that we can cover. In
Okay.
East Asia, we can definitely do Japan, Hong Kong, China. We can do Malaysia. We can do Vietnam, Thailand,
Okay.
Singapore. Uh,
Okay.
in Middle East, we do a select few countries. Saudi we do,
Okay.
Kuwait we do,
Okay. Okay.
UAE we may be able to do, but not to a trader. Ideally, end user or someone who's doing a larger business, we can definitely do in UAE. We can probably
Sure.
look at Oman. I
Okay.
think Africa, we have challenges. We do South Africa, and on an exceptional basis, we might be able to do a little bit of East Africa.
Okay. Got it. So my next question would be, what types of export factoring do you offer? For example, recourse, non-recourse.
Right. See, export factoring as a product is inherently non-recourse. Some
Okay,
players have made it a recourse product, but that being said, none of the factoring company will ever cover a commercial dispute. So this recourse is only
understood, sir.
financial recourse. So if let's say the company
Understood.
goes into bankruptcy, or the country where we have exported the goods, they do not have foreign exchange or something like that, where there is a financial issue and not a commercial issue,
Okay,
that the factor or the insurance company will cover. So if there are any
understood.
defect in goods or anything on the quality side or anything like that, that no factoring company in the world will cover. Not just us or the companies associated with
Sure,
us, but nobody will do that.
sure. Thanks, Nisarji. What percentage of invoice value can I expect to be advanced?
So it depends. We have seen in exceptional cases as high as 100%. Uh, in general, it is 90 or 80.
Generally, it's 90 or
Depending on a
80.
different factoring company, we sometimes get 80%, sometimes we get 90% of the invoice value.
The next question would be, do you offer credit insurance for non-payment risks?
No, like I mentioned, we only do non-payment kind of a credit risk cover.
Okay, sir. Are there any additional services like credit check on buyers, collections, and currency exchange support?
Currency exchange support only AD authorized dealer banks can do. So apart from
Okay.
authorized dealer banks, nobody would be able to do it. That being said, we have four banks on the platform that work with us on the factoring side. So those four banks can definitely provide you the currency conversion support. On the first part, can you repeat the question?
Are there any additional services like credit checks on the buyers, collections, and currency exchange support? I think you have covered this already when it's a non-recourse. I think this is the same
Correct.
question, I
So
believe.
on the credit check part, obviously, when I give you a limit, I will do the credit check myself. So that insurance or
Understood.
two-factor authentication will provide you with the credit cover. The second part on
Okay.
the recovery or realization, if the bill
Mhm.
is done through a two-factor model, I think the second factor, who is on in the country of the buyer, they do help us with the recovery.
Understood, sir. So now the next question comes in the costs and fees. What are the fees associated with your factoring services? And example, discount rate, service fees, administration charges. Can you specify?
Right. See, there are three primary charges that are applicable here. The first one is a one-time processing fee, which is an annual kind of a fee which you have to pay every year. The second fee is the rate of interest, and the third fee typically is a factoring fee on an invoice-to-invoice
Okay,
basis. Couple of
understood.
times, some of the financiers club these second and third fee, the interest rate and factoring, and make it into a single fee. So in that case, you only have
Understood.
two fees, which is the factoring fee, and the second one is your processing fees, the upfront fees that you pay. So you
Wonderful.
typically have these two fees. Apart from that, there are some additional fees that may be applicable, such as, let's say, a late payment fee or non-utilization fee.
Understood.
Let's say you took a limit of $300,000, but you did not use it at all, and you want to renew it the next year. So non-utilization fee may be applicable. But if you utilize your limits, or probably if you don't discount a bill, but the payment comes to the factor, which it does, right? In that case, they might
Understood.
charge a small $30-$40 fee to remit that amount back to your account because they did not do the
So these
discounting.
are these are basically predetermined charges, and these are not hidden costs.
Absolutely, absolutely. They will be mentioned in the agreement in the term sheet. There is no hidden cost at all. Your ideally you only have two costs. One is if you use the factoring services as it is meant to, you come with the bills, you discount them, you use the facilities. There is only two fees. That one is a upfront processing fee, and the second one is the rate of interest that you have to bear.
Thanks, Nisarg. How is the discount rate determined, and does it vary based on buyer's creditworthiness or country risk?
Yes, of course. See, insurance prices vary from country to country, which is why our costs
Okay,
also vary from country to country. Now, this entire product is a function of obviously the limit that you take. Pricing at $100,000 would be a very different pricing than probably a $5 million deal. So it is a function of that. It is a function of how strong the buyer is. Let's say you are selling to Walmart versus let's say you are selling to someone that we do not have any past track record of. So there the prices would change. So it is a function of the buyer geography, and the deal size. These are the three primary things that determine the prices.
understood. Okay, so now the next question comes under process and procedures. What is the
Mhm.
process for submitting invoices and receiving funding?
So there is a checklist of 4 documents that you have to upload on my website. Your shipping bill, your invoice copy, your packing list, and your insurance. You have to submit these 4 things on my portal, and within 24 hours, we credit your account.
So the next question was typically how long does it take for you to receive funds? So it's ideally 24
24
hours.
hours. Less than 24
Okay,
hours. Typically, we try that if the documents are uploaded in the first half, we try to fund it by the second half. If they are done in the second half, we try to fund it by the next morning.
okay,
Maximum is 24 hours.
okay. What documents is required for each transactions?
The 4 documents that I mentioned, that's
Same.
about it.
Okay. The next question is how do you handle disputes or rejected invoices?
Sir, we can modify the invoices. Let's say you had sent goods of $100,000 and $20,000 was rejected. Now we have already funded you
Understood.
$80,000. In which case you have to pay us back some amount so that the ratio remains the same. If I was funding you 90% of the invoice or 80% of the invoice, that ratio has to remain at 90 or 80%. So you have to credit back some amount to us, or you can provide us with another bill
1 minute,
wherein we
Mr.
adjust
G,
that.
just 1 minute. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah, please
sure.
continue. Sorry. Okay. So what is your procedure for collections on overdue invoices?
So we provide 7 days of interest-free money, interest-free funds,
Okay.
because we understand that there is a dollar transmission time that takes. Probably it's a Saturday, Sunday, it's a dollar holiday. Something happened. The intermediary bank may probably the funds got stuck for a day. So we provide 7 days of overdue interest, free of cost. After 7 days, the meter of overdue interest starts. There is a penal interest. Each company has a different methodology, but typically it is your normal rate of interest plus 2 to 4%.
Understood.
So probably
Thanks.
additional
Thanks, Mr.
average
G.
of 3% is what you will be paying as a penal interest.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. G. The next question comes under risk management. How do you assess the credit worthiness of my buyers?
So we have a very strong network of insurers that we work with. So we typically try to work with an insurer in the geography that your buyer is situated. So if it's an American buyer, we talk to an American insurer. If it's a European buyer, we talk to a European insurer. Something like that. And those insurance companies give us the limits based on their experience with these buyers. So the risk is completely on the insurer.
Understood. What happens if the buyer defaults or fails to pay?
We raise the issue with the insurer. The insurer waits for 30 days. After 30 days, in case either the buyer has to file for bankruptcy, if the buyer has not filed for bankruptcy, we have to wait for 30 days, after which the insurer will start his
Okay.
proceedings and the insurance will make good of the funds.
Understood. Thanks, Nisarji. So now coming to the next question here, it's contract terms. So what are the
Mhm.
contract terms and conditions? I believe it has been discussed earlier.
Correct.
So are there minimum volume required or long-term commitments?
So we typically like one buyer, one seller kind of a combination. So if you are selling to, let's say, 10 different buyers, once you decide a factoring company for one buyer, that factoring company will do discount all the or factor all the invoices for a period of minimum 1 year. The minimum limits that we can provide is $50,000, and it can go up to whatever level you want it to. Right. So from a $50,000 kind of a limit, probably revolving 3 times, 4 times, we provide a maximum of 120 days. So a minimum of 3 times revolution is something that we would probably expect.
Okay. Thanks, Nisarji. The next question is, what are the termination clauses and penalties, if any?
What kind of termination clauses?
Uh, in case uh, in case the seller wants to cancel the facility offered,
Absolutely,
or
they
he do
can.
not want to continue.
Yes, yes, yes. There's no penalty. You can stop the arrangement anytime that you want. The only thing is whatever invoices are factored, those needs to be credited to the factoring company, obviously. But you can choose
Thank
not
you.
to factor
Thanks.
any new invoices. That's completely okay.
Understood. Thanks. So the next is about technology and support. Do you offer an online platform or portal for managing your accounts and transactions?
Absolutely. We have a portal which is approved, regulated, and audited by the regulator. And that portal is a very nice portal where you can just go and upload your documents. It provides you an entire MIS of when your invoices are due, when you should be expecting a payment, what is the interest that was charged on the invoice, everything of the past invoice and the present and the future invoices you can track there.
Thanks, Nisarji. How secure is your online platform in terms of data protection and privacy?
Like I mentioned, we have a 6 monthly audit by the regulator, so I think we are pretty secure. We are, I think, ISO 9001, if that's the applicable ISO for this for the security of our website. So we are registered through that also, and we've been in this fintech business for 9 years, and there has never been a issue there. Since we are anyways audited by the regulator, I think we are very secure.
Okay. So the next question would be, how can I contact your support team in case I have any issues regarding the product or the service?
So obviously your RM, which is in this case, let's say it's me, is your first point of contact. Uh, Otherwise, if you want to reach out, there are helpline numbers available on my website, gtx.credx.com, or you can, reach out to any of the customer support numbers that are provided on the website.
Wonderful. So the next question would be, is there a training or onboarding support to help me get started with your services?
Absolutely. So we help you onboard for the first time and we help you use the portal for the first time. After which it's pretty easy to use. So in case you have any queries, any RM will be happy to help you. Otherwise, I think it's very self-explanatory. You should not need any help.
Thanks. I have last few more questions. Mr. G, now it comes to customization and flexibility. They ask,
Mhm.
can your services be customized to meet the specific needs of my business? How flexible are your terms if my business needs change, or if I need to factor invoices from new buyers or new markets?
So we new buyers, a lot of factoring companies are not very comfortable. However, if the buyer is good, we can make that work. New geography is definitely not an issue. In terms of flexibility, we have our set criteria. We can take deviations if required. Typically, you can do any number of days up to a maximum of 120. On an exceptional basis, we might go to 135 or a 150 day kind of a credit if your business requires that. Uh, Apart from that, I think we cover all the industries, so that is not an issue anyways. We cover all the products, that is also not an issue. The geographies that we cover, I've already mentioned you. So on an exceptional basis, we also take approvals in geographies that we would otherwise not do. For example, let's say we are selling to a Nestle in Kenya, right? While we do not cover Kenya, we might be able to get an insurance because your buyer is Nestle Kenya, and we might be able to
By
take
the
a
business, the
insurance on
brand
a very
name.
good buyer. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
because
So
it's
we
the brand
can
name, I
take
think, that matters.
flexibility. Yes.
So there's a last question. Do you provide assistance or advice on legal matters related to international transactions?
So we, all the factoring companies that are present with us, they typically follow the English law. The interpretation is also according to the English law. Apart from that, we do not provide any legal counseling. If you have any queries, we have a legal team that can help you, and we can, connect you to the right person who can, probably help you out.
Thanks, Nisarg. I think the most of the questions have been covered. Is there anything that you would like to, share more, which was not a part of this discussion, which the exporter should be knowing? Apart from
See,
these questions, something that you'd like to share?
absolutely. See, on the facility side, this is a very unique facility. This is a completely unsecured, completely non-recourse, and off-balance sheet kind of a facility, right? So by unsecured,
So
I
for the
mean you don't.
better understanding of a layman, can you please describe what is a non-recourse means? Because you and I understand recourse and non-recourse.
Correct.
Trader may not understand what is a recourse or a non-recourse. Can you little bit
Right.
shed light on that, please?
So I will go into a little bit more depth on all the three terms that I mentioned. The first one is
Please.
unsecured. What I mean is you don't need any security, any guarantees, any cash collateral, any margin money. You don't need any pari passu from your existing banker. You don't even need an NOC from your existing banker. So that is what I mean by unsecured. The second is non-recourse, which means that in case your buyer does not pay you for any financial risks. So let's say he went bankrupt, he does not have funds, his country is under, does not have enough dollars, anything of that sort. If your buyer does not pay you, you do not have to make uh, that payment of the funds that were already credited to you back to us, right? So which de-risks your balance sheet completely. So if you are, dealing with an entity where you feel the risk is high, I think this is a very good facility to de-risk your balance sheet. कि पैसा आएगा तो आएगा भी कि नहीं आएगा, something on those lines. And off balance sheet, since it is not a loan. See, as a layman, factoring is selling of a receivable. You sold goods, you have a receivable on your balance sheet. You sold your receivable to someone. That is what factoring is. So since you sold your receivable, the entry on your balance sheet is that your receivables, which is a debtors on your balance sheet, they go down and your cash goes up. So nowhere a liability is created. It just gets transferred from one kind of an asset to a second kind of an asset. So it is a off balance sheet transaction which lightens your balance sheet, it de-risks your balance sheet, and it is completely unsecured and non-recourse. So which is why I think this is a very new and fantastic product in the market. And in the coming days, we are seeing a lot of potential where this facility will only grow in the total credit in the market.
Thanks, Nisarg. Are we also looking to do import invoice discounting? Is that also something we are looking in the near future?
So we currently also do import factoring. We have two different structures. One is a build to ship to kind of a model, and one is a reverse factoring model. So reverse factoring is very similar to factoring. It's just done from the other end of the spectrum, where the exporter is, let's say, based out of some other country. Let's say you are selling from Netherlands, you're importing into India. So we factor the invoices of the Netherlands-based company and we provide them the 80 or 90% of the funds. And your buyer here in this case is an Indian buyer. So that is something we presently also do. And then we also do a
So this
100%
brings
advance.
me
Yeah,
This brings me to a question. As far as my understanding is, this export factoring is purely based on insurance. The
correct.
insurer approves, then you go ahead. In India, I'm not sure credit insurance still exists or not. When you do a import invoice factoring, who will take the insurance risk on the importer in India? Will
It's
it be an
not just
Indian-based insurer?
so it's not just insurance based. We work on a two-factor model also. There are two different models that we work in factoring. On a import factoring, we typically work on either an open credit risk or we work on a insurance based risk or a two-factor based risk. Either of the three is possible, but typically your ticket size for an export is just 10 crores in exports. For imports, it's much larger. You need to have a minimum turnover of
Mhm.
500 crores. On an exception basis, we
Yeah, to
might be
build
able
a
to take.
credibility.
Correct. So on a exceptional basis, we might be able to take a deviation at 300 crores, but nothing less than that. So this is import factoring is for companies which are typically larger in size, which have an established track record, who are credit worthy for us to take an unsecured risk on them, which completely depends on whether there is someone willing to take a risk on those companies or not. But we do very good volumes on the import side also.
Oh. I think that's all from my side, Nisarji. It was really a pleasure having you, and I'm sure these FAQs will help a lot of exporters, because I believe 5 years is a very short period for anyone to understand this kind of product exists.
True.
Yeah, so I think we can. I think with this kind of events or what we have, it will actually help them educate and help grow their businesses, and eventually uh, you know someday we can be a export driven economy than a current import driven economy.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, we are looking to increase our share in the global market in trade. And I think export factoring or
Yeah,
import factoring will take us a long way in helping this.
wonderful, Mr. Raji. Once again, thanks for your time. Let's
Thank you so
connect,
much, sir.
and I really look forward doing long term mutual business relationship with you. So thank you.
Same here, sir. Likewise.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Deepak ji.